fundamentally we don't call it as a communication. Yeah, we don't call it as a two-way communication. It's only one-way communication. Because when someone send you a message through verbal or through non-verbal, verbal mean you by talk, like I mentioned earlier, and non-verbal is something you use a gesture, you use a body language, or nowadays we are using a phone. Yeah, that's a non-verbal as well. When someone texting you and you are sending back the message, means that there are two ways of communication. Yeah, which means that communication has been occurred, communication has been established. So that the foundation and the meaning of communication. The next one, when we look into the communication, communication is not just about we are talking about the message that call as a fax. It's called about the data, but any kind of message that we are sending to them, as long as it gives some idea, it gives some feeling, so that the sender and receiver share the same understanding about what the message is all about. Yeah, it won't be a good communication if the sender send a message and the receiver sending back the feedback in a different context. Then the communication is breaking down. Yeah, so that the define and understanding the communication. The next one is the type of communication. I've been talk about this earlier. Means there are 4 types of communication. The first one they call it a verbal communication. That's what we did. What we did as a human being. Yeah, we've been talking about this. We keep on communicating to people through verbal communication. The second one is a non-verbal communication. The non-verbal communication is based on what we expressing our communication, not through our vocal, yeah, not through our mouth, but through our body language. Yeah, so that's non-verbal communication. The third one is a written communication. So the written communication, we are not using our body language, we are not using our voice, we are not using our mouth, but we are using our hand to communicate by writing it up. So by writing it up, mostly when you do the assignment, you taking a note, you typing a messenger, you posting in your social media, that's we call as a written communication. And there's a new one they call as a visual communication. So visual communication is represent of something that we abandoned non-verbal and written communication. So mostly we can see in the video, we can see in the montage, we can see in the what they call it, animation. Yeah, so that the type of communication has been established at the moment. I think maybe for another 4 years, maybe another 10 years, there could be another type of communication. Yeah, so for example, we heard about meta, what they call it, metaverse. Yeah, so it's been established by Facebook and everything. So could be in the future there could be, they call it as a virtual communication. Yeah, so that could be in the future, we don't know. Yeah, but at the moment, let's we understand how many types of communication. And oops, the third one is the process of communication. Yeah, fundamentally we understand what is the definition, what is the type of communication, and then the process of communication. As I mentioned earlier, the fundamental of communication is the sender and receiver. Yeah. However, when sender sending the message, there must be in the form of encoding. Yeah. When we talk about encoding and decoding, it doesn't mean that you have to be very computer tech person or very what they call it, IT geek. No. Yeah. But that the words have been used as a encoding. Encoding means you try to filter out all the message, all the content you have in your mind to make sure the message has been sent to your receiver has been can be understood by them. So that's why they call it as a encoding and decoding. Okay, so it's not just a raw message, but sometimes the raw message need to be filtered several times by the sender so that the receiver can receive, we call it as a clean message. Yeah, a clean message. A clean message means the sender has been encoded and decoded all that message. What does it mean by clean message? It's based on how we try to eliminate the noise from that message. When we call the noise from that message, it doesn't mean the noise is coming from the sounds. Sometimes the noise coming from the object. Yeah. So for example, when I talk to you, there is a table in front of me. This is, at the moment, it's not become a noise. At the moment, yeah, because this table does not create a barrier for me and you at the screen. Okay, it's just a tool. It's just additional what we called it. It's an additional furniture so that it can help me to deliver the message clearly. However, if in the front of me there is a hall, yeah, a big wall, sorry, not hall, a big wall in front of me, means that I cannot see you and you cannot see me, but you can still hear my voice. It can be a noise because the encoding and decoding from the message need some connection, yeah, connection in terms of eye contact. So in order to make the message is clean message, there must be some eye contact so that the message being received by receiver is a clean message. So that we call as a noise. Yeah. So that what been fundamentally what does it mean by communication? I hope this is not new to all of the students. If this is new, I think it's good enough for you to understand that fundamental. Because my intention today is to bring you guys to the next level of communication. We call it as a effective communication. Now, before we go for the effective communication, let's go briefly to understand why communication is important. Yeah. So I think I've been talking about 10 minutes. So maybe if I can hear some voice of you to give some opinion why communication is important rather than it's a one-way communication. Let's do the two-way communication. Yeah. So any one of you, there are 62% in here. So anyone to share why communication is important? Anyone?
Okay, so for student, anyone want to give a feedback to Dr. Hafiz?
Tadi malam mau makan.
Okay, student, anyone?
Don't be shy. I'm not exactly in the front of you.
So maybe if you cannot turn on your mic, you can write in the chat and I will help you to read it. So Dr. Hafizal can get an answer for his question to all of you. Anyone, student?
So why communication is important? So I just seeing Devi. So Devi, you want to say something? Now Devi is disappeared.
Yeah, maybe Devi is shy and cannot speak well at this time. Anyone? Or maybe Mr. Sugeng can help the student?
Nordiana. Can I have Nordiana? Rashida?
Okay, Nurdiana, where are you?
So maybe Nordiana is going to toilet. Okay, let's see his friend, Maudi Cynthia.
So for student, you don't need to be shy. You can answer the question from Dr. Hafizal. It's okay. Don't worry about getting wrong. Is it okay? Because we have a discussion at this time. Okay, as the suggestion from Mr. Sugeng, Sabrina, can you give the answer of Dr. Hafizal question?
You can talk in Bahasa. It's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So maybe Sabrina, Augustina, you. Oh, there is an answer from the chat from Maharani Putri Supratiwi. So the answer is communication is important because help us to build relationships and connect to others. That's the answer from Maharani, Dr. Hafizal.
Okay, good. Is there anyone else? Maybe another one? To build a relationship and connect to others. Very good.
Or maybe I can give an answer. Is it okay?
Sure, no problem.
So I think communication is important because we can share information and we can share the message to the others, I think.
Yeah. Well, basically what just been told by our moderator and from the chat, yeah, it's true. It's nothing to say is wrong or right. Yeah, because the main things about the communication is, are we willing to communicate? Yeah. So why is this important? It's important because we need to understand this is the reason. Yeah. There always be a reason why you meet people. When you meet people, obviously you have to talk. You have to communicate. Either that you meet people, you need them to change your life, or you are the one will change their. Could be this is our first time meeting up. Maybe you changing my life in terms of the way that I am giving a lecture. Or maybe it's your turn is change your life in understanding what is the communication is all about. By mentioning by some of your friends say that is to build the relationship, to communicate better. Yes, it's true. Yeah. So that's why communication is so important. Communication is so important because it can benefit you. When we talk, it can benefit your career. It can benefit in terms of your education. It can benefit in terms of your personal life. For example, when you are traveling to other foreign country, for example, you're going to Dutch, you're going to France, you're going to Italy, obviously they're spoken in the different language. However, we try our best to communicate with them through any form of communication, like we discussed earlier. We can use verbal, we can use non-verbal, we can use written, we can use visual communication, so that it's changed our personal life. Because at that time when we in the foreign country, we are hungry. We wanted to ask them where to eat. If you are keep silent, you don't want to talk, you don't want to communicate, then you will feel hungry the whole day. Yeah. So that the main things why communication is important, because it's improving your communication skill. The next one, Why is it important? Because it's a quicker for problem solving. Through good communication, you will make a better decision making. Through a good communication, you will make some workflow steady. Yeah. So these three major parts is very crucial. I have some story. Anyone want to hear my story? Why the communication is important? Now, this is based on some true story. This is happening, I think, in Malaysia, if I'm not taken. They call as a airplane crash because of the communication. So what happened to that communication? During that time, I think it's somewhere in 1980 or I think somewhere 1980. Yeah. During that time, the pilot is talking to the tower. Yeah, the tower means the airport about his attitude. Some of the airplane, they need to talk to the tower to get some information from the tower, what height they should glide. Yeah, whether that is too high or too low. Now, during that flight, that pilot is about to landing. Yeah. So the pilot is talking to the tower. The tower say that, okay, aeroplane, let's say, we call it as aeroplane, not the body number, yeah? So, okay, aeroplane, you may change your attitude to, okay, sorry, something is not right here, because I try to move there, okay. Okay, the tower say to the pilot, okay, pilot, change your attitude to 2,700 feet. So what happened to the aeroplane? The aeroplane crashed. Okay, the aeroplane crashed. The story is the tower tell the pilot to change their attitude to 2,700 feet. And the pilot changed their attitude to 2,700 feet. Okay. And they crashed. What happened? I will tell you after this. The next scenario, the pilot asking the tower where direction to go, left or right. So the tower say that, okay, aeroplane, you can turn left right now. And the aeroplane crashed. What happened? Okay, let's go from the first story about the attitude. Okay, so the attitude means the tower giving actually the right direction. The problem is it's not very precise. Yeah, so for in that case, the tower say that you change your attitude to 2,700. That's how the sender send the message. But how the receiver understand the message? Yeah, the pilot understand the message. The attitude change from 2,700. Means 2 is not represent the number 2. 2 represent 2 kepada 700. So from it's supposed to go to the attitude 2700, but the tower say that 2,700, and the pilot decrease down. So that's why they are crashing. Yeah. So that's one story. The another story is say that turn left right now. So that's what the tower sending the message. But the receiver means the pilot understand that message. You have to turn left and right now. So again, the plane crash. It's just a matter of one single words change everything. Yeah. So that the things why that communication is important, because if you are not really precise about what the information, the words that you wanted to share, then it will change the meaning. Yeah. So nowadays, from the experience, most of the airlines, they are using the different language. They don't say about 2,000 to 700. They will talk in the full. Yeah. 2700. They don't talk in the full words. For example, 2,700. Yeah. So they will talk by words by words. That's in their field. That's in their what they call scope of work. However, in our scope of work may be different. Yeah, maybe we can talk 2,700, but for the airlines, for the airport, they cannot use that words. They have to use the single words, 2700. Yeah. About the turning, the same thing as well. Turn left and turn right. So you don't have to say that turn left right now. Yeah. When you say that turn left right now, it means that you turn left and you turn right, because right is mean kanan. But the pilot understand the right means kanan. But the tower say that right is now. Doing it now. Okay, so that's how the communication is breaking down. Okay, so that what does it mean by quicker problem, better decision making, and steady workflow. The next one, why communication is important. It's very, very important, especially for those who are in the business relation, who are wanted to be a professional, a better professional image. Yeah. So, for example, this is a very famous exercise. It's talk about how to minimize this. Sell me this pen. Yeah. So anyone can sell this pen to me? How you sell a pen to one particular person? This is very famous exercise. Okay, sell me this pen. You can search in your Google. Even most of the interviewer in a big company, when you get into the interview, they will give you a pen and they will say to you, this is your interview, sell me this pen. How are you going to sell the pen? Okay, let's try the second attempt. Anyone try to sell me this pen? I hope this time I'm lucky to hear some voice.
So anyone from the student, anyone you want to try to sell a pen to Dr. Hafizal?
Jualkan pen apa? Pena Pena ini kepada saya. Don't worry if you cannot talk in English. It's normal. Yeah. You can try if you want, but if you don't want to try, you can talk in any language, including sign language. Okay, let me continue. When we talk about sell me this pen, it's a what they call it? It's a symbolic. Yeah. Communication is important for those who are in the business industry. It means that go back to yourself, asking to yourself why you wanted to buy something. For example, why you want to buy a food, why you want to buy a shoes, why you want to buy a house, why you want to buy a pen, why you want to buy a book. That's a key question to understand why you need of something. The key for the business, they are not selling the object. Yeah, pen is just a pen, but that's not the thing they are selling. They are selling emotion. Yeah. For example, when you are buying a new pair of shoes, Are you really buying the shoes? Ask back to yourself, are you really buying a shoes? Basically, none of us really buying everything that what we want. We buy things because it's been drive based on our emotion. We buying that shoes because we want to feel great. We buying that shoes because we want to go faster, buy comfortable shoes. We buying the shoes because we want to look great in the front of our friends. In order to get into that message, the businessman or the seller, they don't talk about the object. They are talking about the value that you can get from that particular object. So for example, when you are selling the pen, you don't tell the people what the pen is all about. You don't tell the people the pen is black, is mechanical, is endless. No, people don't want to hear that. What people want to hear? People want to hear what is the value from the pen. When was the last time you using a pen? When was the last time you used the pen? Why pen is very important to you? So that the answer will drive people to buy of something. Yeah. So it's reflecting to your motivation. Some of us, we buying thing because our motivation is to get pleasure. They call it two words. Some people buying thing because they want to get away from any particular things. So for example, Salwa di Rahma. Yeah. So you are buying a face mask. You are using the face mask. Obviously, you are buying the face mask. Yeah. Why you are buying the face mask? Is that because of your pleasure? No, because you want to get away from getting sick, isn't it? So that's how the buyer motivation. So that's why communication is important for those who are in the business. For professional image means that when you talk to someone, you use a very concise, they call it as a handsome word, you use a very beautiful words so that people can feel the impression about you as a professional. Yeah, so that's strong business relation and better professional image. So that's basically the 6 points or maybe 5 points about why communication is important. Yeah. So is there any question you want to ask before I'm moving on? Student? Or student in here? No. Okay. Let me continue. Yes? Is it okay? Can I continue? Maybe they are too shy.
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah.
they are
Is
too
it
shy.
okay if you want to continue?
Okay, let me continue. Yeah. Okay. Why we need to communicate effectively? In day to day in our life, we communicate. Sometimes people are not listening. So we need to communicate effectively. Why we need to communicate effectively? So that we can make our decision better. We can make a quality decision. We can make our job getting faster. We can get money because we are in the business. So that's why we talk effectively. Effectively means when you talk to someone, they are giving you something. Either that a feedback or they are giving you some in terms of emotion, in terms of money. For example, I wanted to have your pen or your book. If I go, can I have your pen? Obviously, no one will entertain me. If I say something as very persuasive and I say something that very what we call it, persuasive and something that very beautiful, you may be not just giving your book, but you may be giving the whole book that you have. Okay, because I'm talking in the effective communication. Now, let's understand why we need to communicate effectively. Effective communication is a process. Yeah, it's a process. It's a process in terms of how we exchanging the idea. Yeah, exchanging the idea means, like I mentioned earlier, maybe you have some A point and your friends have a B point. So the A and B, they are changing the ideas. Some of people, they communicate effectively because they want to seek opinion or some thoughts. Yeah, opinion and thought are almost similar, but different things. Effective communication is process of knowledge and data. When we talk about data, it's not about the numbers, but it's something about the facts, something about the story, something about the figure. So the effective communication is important so that we can understand the process of exchanging the idea, the opinion, the thoughts, and knowledge in the data can be happening. Yeah. So I give you some example. Now, the person on the left, or I think on my left, it says 6, and a person on the right say it's 9. Why it's happening? Okay, this is my third attempt to ask. If I get lucky this time again, why is happening? Why one person say it's 6 and the other person say 9? So the student from here say that it's a different side. How about the student 3,000 kilometers away from Malaysia? Why is different? Anyone? Maybe our moderator can give some your opinion and your thoughts.
Okay, so I think because it is different, they have different perspective because they have different angle to see the object itself.
Yes, it's true. Yeah. So it means that effective communication is not about to know whether that is right or wrong. Okay. It's just a matter you been into his side to understand what his point of view. Yeah, so that effective communication. Sometimes it's not only we communicate directly, sometimes we have to go to them to understand what actually they are being seeing, what actually they are being experiencing, so that you can truly understand what they are talking about. Okay. Just because you are right or he's wrong doesn't mean just because you are right doesn't mean I'm wrong. You just haven't seen life from my side. Yeah, so that one of the example why effective communication is very important. From there, we can understand that message is received and understood with clarity and purpose. Yeah. When we communicate effectively, both the sender and receiver feel satisfied. Yeah. Sometimes we have some argument. Yeah. But that kind of argument need to end up with satisfaction. Satisfaction doesn't mean that the A person will win from the argument or the B person will lose the argument. Sometimes the satisfaction means that you satisfy that you give all what you got and B give what he or she got. So that's we call as a communicate effectively. From that point of view, I wanted to share some tips and tricks for effective communication. Yeah. The very fundamental things when we want to communicate, you must understand who actually your receiver, who actually your audience. So these are some of the questions you need to answer. You need to know who will be listening. If you want to talk to one particular person, does that one particular person really want to listen? If he or she don't want to listen, you have to do something. How to do that something? I will tell you. What do they already know? sometimes when you try to talk to one particular person, it's a repetition to that particular person. So you don't have to repeat the same thing. What is the common understanding to build on? Sometimes you want to talk about food. Yeah. So you don't have to tell the story about the food. You don't have to tell about history about the food, because we know your friends born and raised in the same village, in the same country. So you don't have to use that kind of story or history knowledge, because he or she already know about that. Okay. What are their expectations? When you talk to someone, what actually they wanted to hear from you? What actually you wanted to tell them? What do I want them to learn? What do I expect them to know with that knowledge? When we talk about the knowledge, it's about your message that you want to send. When you talk to someone and it does not give anything to that particular person, is he or she just listening or hearing, but don't do anything. So what you expect from them? Just to hear what you want to talk, or you want them to do something. For example, taking note, for example, doing the exam. So that what you expect them to do with that knowledge. What will I say to accomplish my goal? Okay, let's moving on to the first one. Who will be listening? Who will be listening? What they already know. You need to understand who are the audience. Are you familiar with the audience? Are you very close to the audience? If not, you need to do, they call as a rapport. Rapport is the subconscious feeling of connection. You have to build the connection. You have to gain the trust from that person, simply at feeling that you're being understood. You have to hook with that particular person that you want to talk. For example, the person who want to listen, you have to build that rapport. I give you the example. When you are walking down to the town, you want to talk to someone that very beautiful or very handsome. It cannot simply you just go there, I like you, I love you, let's get married. It won't happening, isn't it? It won't happening. So what you did, you do a rapport. How you do a rapport? Rapport means you try to make a connection, you try to make a bridge, you try to gain a trust. So I share, they call it a force. Okay, force doesn't mean that you have to use force, kekerasan, bukan. Yeah, force is an acronym. Maybe you can start with first F. First F mean family. You can talk about their family. Hello, miss. How are you? My name is Hafizal. What's your name? Maybe Dewi. Yeah. Oh, so Dewi. Is it a common name in your family? Dewi? Oh, no. It's just only my name. They call it a Dewi. Yeah. So you can talk or you can ask about family. The O is about their occupation. What are you doing, Dewi? Oh, I'm a student. Oh, where you are studying? Yeah. What are you doing, Dewi? I'm working. Where are you working? So from that question, it will build more answers. It will give you more answers for you to follow up with more questions, so that the communication will continue. Then you are building the rapport. The R means rest. Rest means what you will do in your free time. Yeah. Oh, you are a student. I believe the student have a lot of busy time. But if you have some times, what are you doing? Oh, usually I go to the park. Saya pergi di taman. Saya pergi menangkap rama-rama. Saya suka mengumpul stamp. So R is about your rest. Yeah. Ataupun in our field we call as a recreation. C is a city. Sometimes you can talk to one particular person about where they're coming from, which city you are. Okay, so for example, oh Dewi, your name is quite familiar, but I think it's not very common in here. Are you from Malaysia? Oh no, I'm from Indonesia. Oh, which part of Indonesia? I love Indonesia. I'm from Malang. I've been to the Malang before. So you see how that communication has been established. You see how that communication has been bridging up. Yeah. So you can ask about the city. The E, you can ask about their education. Yeah. It's most related to occupation, but education you need to be very careful. Some people, they are very sensitive when you talk about education. Yeah. So for example, when you talk to that Dewi, Dewi, you are student. Yeah. Which degree you are studying? I'm studying as a certificate. I'm studying my master. I'm studying my PhD. Then from there, you can ask more question, so that you can get more answers, and you are now starting to build a rapport. Yeah. So that's who will be listening, know who actually your audience. The second one, when you build up that rapport, you are about to get into one particular circle of trust. Now, believe it or not, every one of us, either they're on the screen or in this room, we all have our own circle of trust. Yeah. The circle of trust, try to imagine yourself now standing. You must have some circle of trust in front of you. The whole of you. Yeah. Imagine that is a transparent circle of trust. Not many people can get into your circle of trust. I usually bring some equipment. We use the, what we call it? Hula hoop. The hula hoop. Yeah, people use to play in their gymnasium. Yeah, hula hoop. Is it the same thing you call it, hula hoop? Yeah, I think the same thing. Yeah, hula hoop. So imagine that you are on the inside of the hula hoop, and you have friends. Let's say 5 of your friends in the front of you. Among that 5, who that you think you can bring them into your hula hoop? Yeah, it may be tight, but it's enough to fit 2 person, mostly. Yeah. Who that one particular person you will choose among your 5 friends to get into your hula hoop? When you're choosing that one particular person, the next is why you are choosing that particular person, not the other person, not the other person, not the other person. You are choosing that one particular person because you have a trust on them, on that particular person. What kind of trust? Maybe the trust in terms of gender. Maybe the trust in terms of relationship. I'm choosing him or her because he or she is my brother or my sister. That's why I'm choosing him to get into my hula hoop. That's the circle of trust. Over the time, people circle of trust getting bigger and wider. Yeah. It's getting smaller, especially when we are in the small. For example, when we are as children, not many of people we are trusting. We only trust our family members, not even our cousin. When we are small, but when we are getting older, matured, professional, maybe our circle of trust getting wider and bigger. However, to get into the circle of trust is not as easy as how it's big and how it's wide. Okay? Because the thickness of circle of trust is much more thicker than when you are small or in the children. Not many people can penetrate your circle of trust. Yeah? So from there, know your audience so that you can communicate effectively, get into their circle of trust. The next one is for the effective communication, they call as a 3V. Yeah, visual, vocal, and verbal. Okay, visual means what's seen in terms of your gesture, in terms of your face expression. Sometimes when we try to communicate, we have to give some real expression. Whether that is serious, you have to give a serious facial expression. In terms of vocal, what heard? Sometimes when it's important, you have to put a high pitch of volume, high pitch of your tone, isn't it? When it's happy, you have a different vocal tone. When it's sad, you have a different pattern of vocal tone. And verbal is what you said. Okay, it's based on vocabulary, grammar. So that's the thing in terms of verbal part as a third V. If you can master all these 3V, you maybe find the sweet spot. That sweet spot, yeah, that's itu gambarnya sweet. Okay. The sweet spot means you are now become a successful communicator. You are now mastering the effective communication. You use your visual, you use your vocal, and you use your verbal to find that sweet spot, so you will become effective communicator. There are 7 C, yeah, 7 C yang telah diperkenalkan in many communication model, yeah. They call as clear, concise, concrete, clear, complete, coherent, and correct. And most of these 7 C, I've been talked to you in some example. However, I think maybe that 7 C is too many to remember. Yeah, 7 C is too many to remember. But if we do the exam, most of the student will try to remember. Okay, in this talk, maybe it's difficult to remember. So I change into 3S. Rather than you remember about how to practice the 7 C, maybe you can try this simple one. They call it a 3S. Yeah. The first S is a simple. When you try to talk to someone, make as a simple language, make as a simple words, make as a simple sentence. Don't make it too long. Yeah. The second S is short. Short means go straight to the point. What actually you want? What actually you want them to do? Straight to the point. Don't take so many long road to get into your idea. Taking the short road to share an idea. Straight to the point. Yeah. With a simple, with a short, obviously you should be put into a story. People love story. Nowadays, we like story. How to know that we really like story? In one day, in 24 hours, how many of you are not opening your social media? Within these 24 hours, how many of you are not opening your social media? Mostly none, isn't it? Because if we not addicted to social media, but what we are addicted? We are addicted about the story that people want to share. It's not about the apps. There are thousands of apps. Yeah? It started from Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and so on. Could be in the future there must be some other apps. But it's not about the apps. We are not addicted to the apps. We are addicted to the story. Yeah. So try to make your communication as a story. When I talk about the story, why we love the story? Because scientifically, our brain have a hormone. Yeah, our brain have a hormone. Mostly we have these 4 hormones. They call it dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, and endorphin. This kind of hormone will what we call it emerge when you hear some stories. Some of the story will make you very excited. Some of the story make you angry. Some of the story make you disappointed. That kind of feeling is coming from your brain. Then it turns into your emotion. So, it means that it's only using the communication you can control some person's brain. You just a matter to understand what is the dopamine, oxytocin, and endorphin. Yeah. But unfortunately, I think maybe we have some other time. we can share with you what is the example of dopamine, oxytocin, and endorphin. Yeah. Maybe I should go there again. Okay. Yeah, I have some example. They call the elephant rope. This is a one village. Yeah, there's a one village, a one particular person. Seorang lelaki ini sedang berjalan di satu pekan. Dalam satu pekan dia melihat ada seekor gajah. Seekor gajah yang sangat besar. Di kaki gajah itu diikat dengan seutas tali. Sekali tengok, tali itu tidak cukup kuat untuk menahan kaki gajah yang besar itu. Hanya tali yang sangat halus sahaja. Jadi lelaki ini tanyakan kepada penjaganya. Dia tanya, "Tuan, kenapa tuan mengikat tali ini kepada gajah yang besar ini? Sedangkan kita tahu dengan sekali tendang sahaja tali itu akan terputus." Jadi apa penjaga itu kata? Penjaga itu kata, "Saya tahu dia akan buat demikian. Dan saya tahu dia tidak akan buat begitu. Kenapa? Kerana saya telah mengikat tali yang kecil sewaktu gajah ini masih lagi kecil. Dan gajah ini membesar dengan mempercayai bahawa tali yang kecil itu sehingga sekarang masih belum mampu untuk menjadikan dia melepaskan diri." So, from that story, I actually induce some of this chemical in your brain, in your attention, in terms of your belief. Okay, so that story, people like story. Okay, so from that story, it takes more than facts to shake a belief. Sometimes kita nak jual pen yang tadi, yang tak ada orang nak beli tadi. You have to tell them a story, not just about this pen is made from what. No, you have to tell them about the story. Yeah, to be a effective communication, the key to be as a effective communication is to become a great listener. Yeah, when you now traditionally this is a three major thing what people do when they become a listener. Stay silent when someone is talking. Is it true? Yeah. Nod your head to show that, okay, I understand what you're saying, although that I'm not really understand, but you give some commitment that you are listening, and you repeat back. Repeat back means you are trying to become a parrot or burung kakak tua. Okay, so try to repeat back. So this kind of traditional is not representing for effective communication. To be a good effective communication, you must be a good listener. In order to get a very good listener, you must be a trampoline listener. There are two types of listener. They call, the one is a sponge listener. Sponge. Sponge means it's like a sponge. When you put the water on that sponge, what happened to the sponge? It's absorbing everything, but doing nothing. Yeah, that we call as a passive listener. As a trampoline listener, is an active listener, because the sifatnya trampoline yang lompat-lompat tu. Kita letak kaki sekali je, dia terus menendang kan? So means that how we become a good listener. Okay. The first one is, how do you usually listen? How your pattern of listening? Okay. Are you listening with nodding your head? Okay. Try to be very, very active. How you listen. The second one is, what is your listening style? Are your listening style in terms of task-oriented, analytical, relational, or critical? What this for means? It means that your listening style, sometimes we listen, we try to make a judgment. Sometimes we listen, we try to make assumption. Yeah. So try to understand when you listen something, it's about what? Is it about the task-oriented? Something that you have to listen, that you need to analyze? Something you need to find that relationship from what the speaker wanted, or something that very critical? Yeah. And the third one is, why do I need to listen right now? For example, when I'm talking now, why do you need to listen right now? What is the goal from that conversation? Is it just, like we mentioned earlier, is it just as only data sharing, knowledge sharing? Is it for to give some opinion? So you need to understand the goal of conversation so that you can know what you want and what your speaker really needs. Okay. And the last one, like we mentioned, are you the speaker circle of trust? Circle mean the person who want to share something with you. Sometimes they want to share something of you. Maybe it's very brief. They are not telling you in details. Why? Because you are not in their circle of trust. If not, try to be the one. How to be the one? Create the rapport. Create the trust. Build, strengthen your bridge from here to there. Build the bridge. Yeah. So, and the others is a bonus. Yeah. When you try to be effective communication, do I appear confident? Do you have a strong eye contact? Am I projecting your voice? We are talking about the vocal, voice, verbal. Are you maintaining a good posture? Sometimes people do the talking and their posture is not even proper. And do you have a hands gesture naturally? So some people, when they're talking, they put their hand together in here because they are too scared. Are you moving purposely? Are you moving from there to there? Are you trying to dancing, or you want to get the attention from your audience? Do you appear calm and in control? Yes, we know. When we talk in the big crowd, we feel nervous. But do you appear in the calm? Nervous is only inside, but don't translate your nervous into your physical transform. Yeah. And the last one is another bonus is, do you well groom? Well, this is some additional for communicate to communicate effectively. Sometimes the first impression will make people don't want to talk to you, especially when you try to sell something. Yeah. So is my hair clean? Are my fingernails are clean and trim? So it's all about the appearance. Yeah, your choosing of clothes. If you have a beard like me, so do you trim it properly? Do you wear a perfume when you try to talk someone? Because sometimes it's very sensitive. Some other people, they don't want to talk because you are smelly. So that one particular person that needs to be concerned, especially when you try to communicate. Yeah, we can communicate, but maybe it's not effective. You are not get what actually you want. You not get what actually your speaker really want. Yeah. I think that's the only time that I have to share with you guys. So I welcome, is there any question or any feedbacks or any comments from people who 3,000 kilometers away from here? Thank you. So I will pass to our moderator.
Okay, thank you for Dr. Hafizal for a really great presentation for today about the art of communication. So now, students, we move to the second session, that is question and answer with our guest lecturer for today. Is there any question for all of you? If you're feeling shy enough to raise your hand and talk directly to our guest lecturer for today, you can write your question to the chat and I will help you to read the question. So anyone, any question for Dr. Hafizal?
Two people sama Hidayat sama ya
Yeah.
Okay, it's time. Okay, thank you for the time and the room. Okay, so I want to ask about the gesture, and when I want to be a good listener. Is important the gesture in the is a gesture is important when we be a good listener. Okay, maybe it's my question.
Okay, thank you, Muhammad Hidayat, for the question. So your question is about if you want to be a good listener, is that important to have a gesture? Is that right?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
right.
Okay, so Dr. Hafizal, you want to answer the question directly, or we
All
get?
right, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, I think there's two tips I want to share when you wanted to be a good listener and you want to be a good speaker. What I've been doing currently, I'm practicing two tips. The first one, moving your gesture. For example, you put your hand together like this. Okay. Sometimes you move your hand like this. There's a rule of thumb. They call it a 5-second rules. Don't move it quickly. Sometimes you have to hold until 5 seconds or 10 seconds, then you can move your hand. After that, you can move your hand. If you keep frequently use your gesture in terms of moving, it will become a noise. People will get distracted. Dia akan terganggu disebabkan pergerakan badan kita yang terlalu kerap. Yeah. So the second one, if you want to be a good listener, they call it as a mirror, cermin. Okay, cermin bermaksud sekiranya anda berhadapan dengan orang itu, try to copy what he or she did. If that particular person sit down by crossing his leg, you are sitting at the next, crossing your leg as well. Yeah. If that particular person put their leg straight this, so you have to follow that. They call it the mirror technique. Yeah. But do it in bersahaja. Okay. Don't to focus that one particular person cross his leg and then you say, oh, he's crossed his leg. Okay, let me cross his leg. No. Okay. Lakukan dia dalam keadaan yang bersahaja. So that will help you in term of gesture. Okay, Hidayat?
Okay, thank you, sir, to the answer.
Okay, thank you for Dr. Hafizal for the answer and Muhammad Hidayat Nasution for your participation. And another question from Aryawan Adinata. For Aryawan.
Okay, thanks for the times given, but I would like to say sorry because I can use the virtual background.
It's
Let
okay.
me ask the question. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
First, let me ask about how we can deliver good communication inside the telephone without any miscommunication. And as we know that we need to deliver some gesture, but in the telephone we can give some gesture. And for that, how to convince someone which is only by telephone, and how we can make sure that there is no miscommunication inside the telephone. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for Aryawan. So the question for Dr. Hafizal, it is about when we do the communication via telephone, we cannot show to our receiver that we have some gesture. So how to make sure that our message is sent to our receiver better, with a better condition, because we cannot show them our gesture.
Yeah, and how to convince our topics to the others.
Okay, and how to convince them that our information or our message is important.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. This is very, very interesting question. Allow me to a few minutes more to share about the. Okay, it's okay. The 3V. Do you remember the 3V?
Visual, vocal, no, not that.
So I believe you can see my screen, yeah?
Yeah, somehow
okay.
I remember about that, Dr. Hafizal.
So this
vocal,
is the
visual.
3V.
Yeah.
So if you cannot use visual so that the person cannot see your gesture because you are calling the phone, there's another two opportunity of V, which is you can use your vocal and you can use your verbal. The verbal means in terms of how you organize your wording, how you organize your sentence, how you organize your story. Sometimes people start with a story very quickly. Sometimes people start with a story with the introduction. For me, it's not a problem in terms of verbal, how you organize your story. The most important thing is about how you use your vocal. When we using the telephone, try to use the tone of the pitch, the quality of your volume. Means your voice. Yeah, that's very important. Sometimes when we think it's very important, you have to very deep voice. For example, I'm using this deep voice. Okay, rather than you talk the high voice so that the whole people can understand about it. Okay, so that the difference in terms of how you use the vocal. Okay, now in terms of vocal, there's a one thing that I think is very important. So suddenly I silent. What happened? The power of pause. Okay, sometimes when you talk, you have to give some pause when you are talking. Don't talk straight away A to Z. Sometimes you have to pause. Stop about 10 seconds or 5 seconds and continue your story. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you for Dr. Hafizal. So there are a lot of students that raised their hand. So another question from Vicky Samuel Nugraha. You can answer you can ask the question.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. I want to ask something about what about when there are some outside distraction and which can distract us from listening to others. For example, when I heard you talking now, but someone else was playing music at a loud volume, how can I still listen to you well and while my focus has been distracted?
Okay, so Vicky asked about the distraction when we do the communication, when we do two-way communication and there is a distraction, how we can, as a receiver of the message or of the information, can still focus to the message that sent by our sender.
Okay. Yeah, yes, ma'am.
Right. The distraction we call as a noise in communication. Yeah. So
Yeah.
the noise is only two things you need to do. Either that you can eliminate, padam semuanya. If you are have empower to padam. If you are in the coffee, you need to change the place. Eliminate that power. Eliminate that noise. Eliminate that music. The second one is minimize it. Okay, minimize it. Kurangkan dia. So that's I think that's only two way to manage untuk uruskan that we call as the noise tersebut. Yeah. Thank you, Vicky.
Okay, thank you, Vicky and Dr. Hafizal. Another question from Andra Dwiki Ramadan.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity. I want to ask about, can culture, gender, or nationality have an effect on communication? I think that's all I want to ask.
Okay,
Thank
thank you, Andra. So the question, Dr. Hafizal, is about is there any effect or impact from the gender and nationality when we do the communication itself?
Yes, obviously, yes. Yeah. That's why the first thing first, when you try to communicate, like I mentioned earlier, know your audience. Know who they are. Know where they are coming from. When you are knowing them in terms of gender, in terms of their culture, in terms of their language, in terms of their religion, so that you can properly plan in terms of how to communicate. Yeah. Don't take for granted who is your audience. Remember that. If you are take for granted, you ignore who they are, maybe you are not get into their circle of trust. maybe they are not really actually listening what you are trying to say. Yeah, so the same thing as well if you are listening. So try to understand who they are. Maybe they are not English spoken person, for example, from China. So we have to allow that kind of delay, that kind of slang different, because we understand that language is very difficult to them and for us as well. Yeah, so understand who your audience is very important. Okay. Thank you, Andra.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Another question again, Dr. Hafiza from Muhammad Indra Karisma.
Okay, thank you for chance. I want to ask, when we communicate with many people, the more difficult our effectiveness in communication is known. Because maybe not everyone hears what we say. But according to a question, if you know a stand-up comedy, everyone is focused on the speaker. So how can we make sure that everyone is on the topic that we bring and make sure they understand what we are talking about? Thank you.
So the question from Muhammad Indra Karisma is quite interesting, yeah. So he asked about when we are as a stand-up comedian and we do that in front of the public itself, how we can make sure that all of our audience can get the message that we want to share to them.
Okay, okay, that's very interesting. But the philosophy of a comedian is one thing. He know who is the audience. So the first thing. The second one, he built a good story. When you build a good story, at the end, they call it a punchline. Yeah, there must a lay of the story in terms of introduction and content, and you must get into the punchline. Remember, we talked about the 3S. Make it as a simple sentence, simple statement, make as a simple story. Don't make it a very complicated. It's very hard to digest, and make it a very short story. And the last one, complete that story as a story. So that actually the success of comedian. They are using the foundation, the platform of communication. They are using that. It's just a matter of they are putting some creativity into that. So, but in terms of communicate, they are actually using the same model. Thank you, Indra. Sudah.
Okay, thank you for Dr. Hafizal and for all of the students and Dr. Hafizal, because we have a limitation of time. So I think it is the end of our session of question and answer because our time is up. So before we end our guest lecturer for today, I would like to give a summarize from today's guest lecturer. So the art of communication talk to us about the communication itself, that it is need to do by two people. And there are 4 types of communication. There are verbal communication, non-verbal communication, written communication, visual communication. And communication itself is important because there will always reason why you meet people. There is a chance to improve your communication skills, can benefit your career, education, and personal life, and also quicker for problem solving, to make a better decision making, steady workflow, strong business relations, better professional image, and also it is important to do the effective communication because it is the process of exchanging ideas, opinions, thought, knowledge, data, so that the message is received and understood with clarity and purpose. So when we communicate effectively, satisfaction is the result. So that is the summary of our guest lecturer for today. And thank you for Dr. Hafizal for a really great presentation for today, and also great and thank you for everyone, to all of the students. We really appreciate you being here, joining us in the guest lecturer for today. We do hope that this guest lecture will be the first step to future collaboration between the University of Brawijaya and also with the UPM, University Putra Malaysia, to another 3-in-1 program for the next year. We would like to say thank you to our guest lecturer today who worked hard to make this event ready, and of course the participant who has participated in this guest lecture for today. So I hope that our guest lecture today will benefit to you and to all of us, and we will see you next time. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you everyone. Bye.
Okay, so Dr. Hafizal,